great future ahead of it. The market just absolutely got ahead of itself. 125, it was really overvalued at that time. A lot of hype, a lot of FOMO trades going on. We're much closer back to reality here.
Palantir is down big in the last 2 weeks, and the Honest Company just reported earnings on the 26th. I'm going to go over the reasons that I'm going to be buying both this week. Beginning with Palantir, they are down about 32% from their peaks just a couple weeks ago and are now at about $85 a share. Now, reason number one I'm going to be buying Palantir this week is because both institutions and politicians have been buying at the 80 plus level into the 90s, and I made a video about politicians buying between $80 and $120 earlier in January and February, so go check that out. I'll leave a link below. With that being said, with them buying at 85, 90, 95, 100, I'm considering $80 a base. Again, this is just my opinion, but I feel like if we hit $80, there's going to be a lot of people buying, and for this quarter, I don't anticipate us going much below 80 until we get more results on the next quarter, and whether or not that outlook looks positive or negative is going to tell us the direction that the Palantir price will go from there. Now, there's been two main catalysts for the negative sentiment around Palantir, and the first one is the 8% defense spending cut per year over the next 5 years that Trump announced a few weeks ago, as well as Alex Karp's plan to sell over $1 billion of stock this year. I went over that in one of my last videos, and as I stated there, that stock plan is called a plan for a reason. It's predetermined, and we will see that $1 billion of sales this year. Now, I do believe at $125 that Palantir was overvalued for this quarter, and that could change, quarter after quarter. And so you're going to see a lot of negative sentiment, whether it be news article headlines or analysts within videos speaking negative upon Palantir. And so do your own due diligence. But for me, I'm buying more Palantir because of the reasons I said earlier, and because I'm seeing a lot of negative headlines regarding Palantir with no validity behind them. And again, these cuts to defense spending, none has been announced that they're going to be cutting from Palantir, and it hasn't even gone through. So a lot of these policies that are being talked about this year still have to go through the judicial process, go through the different branches of the government, so on and so forth. And so who knows how this 8% will affect us, but I think, in my opinion, that the 8% is not a reason to sell off 32% of Palantir shares, making it worth less than $200 billion. Now, in your opinion, if you think it's still overvalued, I get that and I understand. But as I stated earlier, I think there is a base level for the majority of people who bought, and I think we're going to hit that base soon, if we hit it at all, and then continue an upward trend. Finally, if you either read or watched the fourth quarter and full year 2024 earnings report that Palantir just had, their forecast is ridiculous, okay? So we're still forecasting for over 30% revenue growth, and we have $5 billion in cash. That plans on growing as well. And all the outlook from Palantir does look positive going into this year. So let's say the 8% defense spending cuts did happen. First of all, again, that might not affect Palantir at all, but let's say they cancel all of Palantir's government contracts. They still have their commercial revenue coming in. And so I feel like with this recent sell-off, it's kind of related to those who also only know one side of Palantir. And so I compare the downfall right now to, shaking the bugs out, shaking the weak hands out, and those who don't really know about the company. And what I mean is many people still think Palantir is primarily run from government revenue. And at this point, you're seeing heavy growth in the commercial revenue coming through. And so obviously, if we took all government revenue away from Palantir, that would be very bad. But I try to give a worst case scenario here. That does it for Palantir. Let me know down below what you think the price should be, if you have a price target, if you plan on buying or selling, or if you did. But for now, let's move on to The Honest Company and why I'm buying more shares this week from them. I can't lie, I'm not as knowledgeable about The Honest Company as I am with Palantir. That's why my investment is not nearly as large in The Honest Company, but it is growing, and I plan on growing it over time, mainly due to their financials. Let's dig into it. A few items that stick out to me in their most recent earnings report is that they reported $378 million of record revenue, which is up 10% year over year. And that being said, their expected growth rate is only 4 to 6% for next year, which is a little scary for me because it's definitely not like the Palantir's 30+%, but it is a beverage company. You're looking at a lower percentage anyway. But the concerning part for me regarding that is that they did just have 10% growth this year. So are they just sandbagging, or do they really expect 4 to 6% growth? The reason I say that is because they ended the quarter with a $75 million cash position, which is an increase of $43 million from the previous year. And so that's quite the increase. We're only talking about millions of dollars here, not billions. And so there's still a lot of room to lose in this cash position, especially. One of the other key factors that stood out to me was actually the Amazon performance, where consumption was up 35% in quarter four. And so the way I look at this is The Honest Company is building an umbrella of products. And so, of course, they're going to sell most of their drinks offline, in retailers, gas stations, so on and so forth. But I think Amazon is a good revenue boost to items like diapers, diaper wipes, and other supplies. For example, I've bought both of those on Amazon in the last year for our youngest son, who just turned a year old. But again, I think on Amazon they're really aiming to grow their portfolio of other products. With that being said, I don't think they're relying on Amazon. Okay, so I think it's just an avenue for them to grow their revenue streams on their other items. And, as people buy, you're going to see repeat buyers, so on and so forth, for various items. And so that's my optimistic outlook, is that with Amazon, they're expanding their product portfolio, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and it can even be used as a testing ground to see what's selling well and what's selling not before they hit other retailers. That's just speculation, though. Like I said, the main point is I don't think they're going to sell many drinks on there, but they're going to be selling their other products, which people are buying on the daily. Finally, the primary reason that I invest in The Honest Company is because, first of all, it's mainly a drink company right now, sure. I do believe that it's a company that will get bought out in the future. And so I'm just optimistic that it'll be worth more than what I bought it at right now. And so right now it's worth less than $600 million. And I believe in the next year or two, it could be worth well over $1 billion. But let's say even $1 billion flat, that indicates over 67% growth from here. And again, my optimism is just saying that they'll be bought out. I don't know when that'll be, years down the road or next year, whatever it may be. But I do believe to increase their revenues overall and profit margin especially, that we're going to have to increase the efficiency of the supply chain. And I believe that a larger company could help The Honest Company with that. Think of like the Coca-Colas of the world, and their supply chain and how efficient it is in all the countries they hit. And so not just that, but the expansion worldwide. And so if we can see exposure worldwide before we get bought out, I think that's where the increased revenues and profits will come through as well. I do want to thank you for watching this long. If you are invested or sold out of these companies in the past, let me know down below. And if you watch this long, like I said, you should subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day. Do something that makes you smile today. Maybe subscribing does that.